I never imagined I'd uncover a millionaire doctor behind those Playboy rumors. My heart raced as I replayed that fateful night in my mind. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The night started like any other, the air thick with summer warmth and the muffled laughter spilling from nearby parties. I was just a waitress. Nothing special. But that evening, everything changed that I stood behind the bar, wiping glasses and stealing glances at the door. Then he walked in. Tall, with dark hair slicked back, his jawline sharp enough to cut through the noise around us. Eyes that sparkled like diamonds, drawing everyone's gaze. Dr. Ryan Hale. The name slipped through hushed tones, always accompanied by gasps and whispers. He was a genius surgeon. A millionaire. And a notorious playboy. The chilling truth? I knew those whispers well. They floated around like shadows. Rumors filled with scandal, about his late nights and wild escapades. I never thought I'd be caught in the net of such a captivating lie. But then I felt it, a shiver running down my spine. This was not about mere attraction. When he smiled at me, a warm glow ignited in my chest. I faltered, my hands trembling as I served him a drink. "What do you know about me?" he asked, a playful glint in his eyes. My breath caught. I felt exposed. The rumors danced between us, electric, tantalizing. I couldn't resist. "Enough to know that you're not just a doctor." My voice quivered. The room fell silent. All eyes shifted to us. Faces lit with curious intrigue, hearts beating in rhythm with mine. Ryan's laughter sliced through the tension. "Curiosity can get you in trouble," he replied, leaning closer. The night unraveled like the string of a frayed kite. Each word he spoke was a thread, weaving a story deeper. He was charming, witty, and yet, something lurked beneath the surface. A hint of pain? A shadow crossing those captivating eyes? I couldn't shake the sense that there was more to him, but just as quickly, the moment vanished. An angry confrontation erupted nearby, shattering the atmosphere like glass. Ryan turned away, eyes narrowing. His grin faded, replaced by a stern mask of focus. "I need to go," he said sharply. And just like that, he was gone. My heart sank. Questions swirled inside me. Was he running from something? Or towards it? Everything I believed, every rumor I'd dismissed, suddenly felt like a dark trap closing in around me. I could sense that this was just the beginning. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days blurred into nights after Ryan vanished from that bar, each one heavier than the last. I found myself awake in the early hours, staring at the ceiling, the weight of questions pressing down on me. Did he sense my curiosity as a threat? What was the truth behind the man who inspired both admiration and judgment from those around me? Work became an escape, though it stung to serve drinks and listen to laughter that didn't involve him. I kept replaying our conversation, anchoring myself to the fleeting warmth of his smile. But even that memory twisted under the strain of uncertainty. The tension coiled inside, a bond between hope and despair. One evening, I was cleaning glasses, my thoughts a jumble of chaos, when a familiar voice floated through the bar's entrance. It was Claire, an acquaintance from my stifling, mundane life. Her wide eyes betrayed her usual bright demeanor. She walked straight towards me, urgency slipping from her lips like tea from a cracked cup. "Have you heard?" she asked, breathless. I shook my head, anxiety coursing through my veins. Ryan Hale was involved in an accident. The words hung heavy in the air, ripping my heart into 1,000 pieces. They say he's in critical condition. The ground beneath me shook as confusion and fear tangled together. He had only just walked out of my life, yet here was proof or reminder of the chaos he carried. Would I ever know him apart from the scandalous rumors? Would I get the chance to find out if there was more to him than the Playboy facade? My instincts screamed at me to rush to the hospital, to uncover the truth. But then, doubt crept in, a flicker of fear reminding me that I was just a waitress, nobody of importance in the illustrious life of a millionaire. Who would care if I stood by his bedside? Yet, something deeper urged me forward, a sense of connection born from those shared moments, fleeting as they were. No, Claire, I have to go. My voice was steadier than I felt. I grabbed my purse, the decision solidifying in my mind. I would confront the tumult of my growing feelings, whatever might come next. The hospital waited, sterile and daunting. The cold, clinical smell mingled with the scent of antiseptic, memories of trauma layered within its walls. I hesitated outside the room, listening to disembodied voices that carried dread. "He's stable," someone said. Relief washed over me but mingled with concern, a complex cocktail of emotion. Pushing the door open, I found him lying there, fragile, connected to a web of machines that hummed like a morning choir. My heart shattered at the sight. The man I'd only just begun to know now lay so vulnerable. His usual vibrancy, the confident playboy, now seemed a distant memory. I stepped closer, my breath hitching at the turn of events. "Ryan?" I whispered, afraid the sound would disrupt the stillness of the room. His eyelids fluttered, and I wondered if my voice reached him. The faintest flicker of recognition danced across his face as he blinked open those dazzling but dimmed eyes. "What?" he rasped, his voice hoarse and unsure. "That I am here," I breathed, taking his hand, a gesture both foreign and familiar. It felt right to be there, and yet entirely wrong not to have known him better before this moment. He stared, confusion mingling with recognition, and in that electric silence, something flickered in the corner of the room. A figure cloaked in shadows, a woman with an aura of icy elegance, lingered just outside. The curve of her lips was tight, and as her gaze flickered between Ryan and me, the undeniable tension spun itself into a web of suspicion. Before I could process the dread pooling in my stomach, she stepped into the room fully, revealing herself, a striking woman in a designer suit, carrying an air of authority, and somehow, a connection to Ryan that felt darker than the sterile walls around us. "This is inappropriate," she stated coldly, her eyes narrowing on me. "You shouldn't be here." I felt my heart race, the mark of a fight or flight instinct coursed through me. My breathing quickened as I tried to grasp her presence. Was she family? An ex-lover? What did she want, standing there like a vulture? Ryan's gaze darted between us, confusion dotting his features. "Who are you?" he croaked, both alarmed and intrigued. Suddenly, the room constricted, time slowed, emotions frayed, and I realized this encounter held more than just animosity. It was a gateway to a truth I feared. Perhaps the whispers in the past were the least of what awaited us. What life-altering secrets lurked just beyond this moment? Tension crackled in the air as I braced for the fallout. The stakes were higher than I ever imagined. The woman held Ryan's gaze for a moment longer before pivoting her attention fully to me, her expression shifting between disdain and curiosity. Isabella," she declared, her voice smooth yet laced with something sharp, like an ice pick concealed beneath velvet. "And you are, just a friend," I managed to say, my heart racing as I sought for the right words that would sound convincing, even to myself. "I came to check on him." "And how do you know Ryan?" Isabella pressed, as though my answer would unlock some hidden narrative she suspected was unfolding. Before I could respond, Ryan's voice, still hoarse, broke through the tension. She's someone I met." The way he struggled to articulate made me yearn for the man he was, confident and charming. "Someone you met?" Isabella echoed, her skepticism evident. "You and all your little distractions." The disdain in her tone was palpable as it settled between us like a cold fog. Isabella, enough. The feeble demand came from Ryan, but the authority wasn't lost on me. Even wounded, he emitted a magnetic energy that demanded respect. The momentum shifted, and for a split second, I was encouraged and afraid. The air grew denser with unsaid words, and I brushed my thumb over Ryan's knuckles, grounding myself as I stared into the depths of those weary eyes. They sparkled with confusion, but with every passing second, I believed I saw a flicker of the warmth I had known in him before. I need to know what happened, Ryan. What really happened? I urged, the tremor in my voice betraying my anxiety as I pleasured to hold on to hope amidst this tangle of uncertainty. Isabella took a step forward, a warning etched into her features. You don't need to concern yourself with that. What he needs now is rest. Not distractions. I bit back, desperation fueling my voice. You act as if you're the one who gets to decide what he needs. I know he needs someone who cares about him. My words hung thick in the air, igniting a spark of tension. Ryan shifted slightly, his brow furrowing in thought, the weight of our exchange beginning to anchor into the bedsheets. I don't even know what happened, he whispered, vulnerability seeping through. One moment I was driving, and then nothing. Isabella's ice-cold demeanor faltered only for a breath, revealing a flicker of concern, a human moment that passed like a shadow. But it was gone as quickly as it came, her composure returning to its fierce edge. You need to focus on healing, Ryan, not on this. The authority in her voice was clear, and it landed heavy on my chest. I wanted to scream, to shake the truth out of her, but I realized this woman carried more influence over Ryan than I could comprehend. What right did I have to intrude into this world that felt so foreign yet so intertwined with my own? But hope bloomed within me, fragile as it was, when Ryan murmured, I don't want to be alone, Isabella. I want her here. It felt like a lifeline, solid and unwavering, cutting through the thick layer of tension. Isabella stiffened, her jaw tightening, and in that moment, every ounce of power she wielded faltered under his words. You're making a mistake, she said sharply, but the tremor in her voice betrayed the crack in her armor. No. His voice grew stronger, clearing the fog of weakness. I'm not ready to let go of her yet. The declaration crashed through the air, and a hush fell between us like a fragile truce. I squeezed his hand tighter, fighting for the connection we had fought to forge in the wake of silence and unknowing. I'll stay, I assured him. I'm here for you. In that moment, Isabella turned her gaze towards the floor, seemingly calculating her next move. But before I could grasp what was to come, she shot a burning look towards me. You have no idea what you're stepping into, do you? The world he comes from is full of shadows you cannot comprehend. With those words, the uncertainty morphed into an unsettling clarity. I felt a wedge of doubt cracking the ground below me. Was Ryan more than just the man I had met? I glanced back at him, searching his eyes for answers, for solace. The machines continued their rhythmic beeping behind us, an eerily comforting reminder of life persisting even amidst despair. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, the door swung open once more, and the tremor in my heart twisted into a knot of dread. A tall man entered, his silhouette radiating authority, the kind that commanded attention and respect. When he caught sight of Ryan, the tension shifted once again, an unsettling certainty being stacked like building blocks, leading somewhere dark and inevitable. Ryan, the man said, his voice deep and measured. We need to talk. Fear coursed through me as I watched Ryan's expression morph into confusion wrapped in unease. The stakes had been raised again, and just as hope lingered like a candle struggling against the wind, I felt something sinister lurking at the edges of the atmosphere, ready to extinguish it all. Whispers of secrets buried deep and truths I had yet to uncover. I drew in a slow breath, preparing for the storm that was about to be unleashed, unaware of the deep chasm of complexity waiting just beyond the horizon. The truth was far darker than I had ever imagined, and I found myself teetering on the brink of a revelation that would undoubtedly change everything I thought I knew about Ryan, and the world concealed beneath glittering opulence and lavish facades. As I stood frozen in place, my heart pounded in my chest, matching the frantic beeping of the monitors around us. The man, whose formidable presence filled the room with an almost suffocating weight, leaned closer to Ryan, his gaze piercing and authoritative. "You've put us all at risk with your recklessness," he said, deep lines creasing his forehead. I felt my entire body tense at the gravity of his words. What had Ryan done? My mind raced with possibilities, each one more alarming than the last. The air in the room seemed to thicken with unspoken truths, and I could barely breathe as Ryan's eyes flitted to me, a mix of fear and apology swirling within their depths. "Who is this?" the man demanded, his voice sharp and unyielding as he dismissed my presence. I could feel the accusation in his tone, the implication that I was an intrusion into a world I couldn't comprehend. "Joanna," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, but it felt like the weight of mountains. "Am his friend?" He echoed disdainfully, swiveling his gaze back to Ryan. "Is that how you see her? A friend? Stop it." Ryan's voice rose with an unexpected strength, the urgency in it catching even me off guard. "Joanna has been here for me when no one else has." He met the man's intense gaze, unwavering. "I don't want this discussion to exclude her," the man hesitated, caught between maintaining control and recognizing Ryan's plea. For a brief moment, his rigid demeanor faltered, and in that crack of uncertainty, I sensed a glimmer of hope that perhaps I could be a part of whatever dark path they were traversing together. But I also felt the lurking fear that riddled the space, shrouded in secrets I was unprepared for. "I don't care for any of this," the man finally said, his tone chilling as he pulled away slightly, recalibrating himself. "You're in a delicate position, Ryan. Your life, your future, everything is at stake right now." A shiver ran down my spine. What future was he referring to? What kind of danger loomed over Ryan that I was still unaware of? As the man continued speaking, some of the tension in Ryan's shoulders seemed to ease, but my heart sank further with every word that slipped from the man's lips. "It's already out there. We need to contain it. If news breaks, you understand what that means." His voice lowered dangerously, as if uttering a forbidden spell. The tone conveyed an unspoken threat that wrapped around my consciousness, binding it in a suffocating grasp. "News? What are you both talking about?" I interjected, desperate for clarity to pierce through the confusion. Ryan turned to me, a gauze of sadness draping his features. "It's complicated, Joanna. There are things about my life you don't know." "Then tell me," I urged, grasping his hand tighter. "Well, face this together," the man snorted, an expression of mocking disbelief shadowing his face. "She doesn't belong in this, Ryan. You need to think logically." I could feel a wave of frustration washing over me, threatening to spill into anger. Logically? What good is logic if you're putting him into some kind of unseen danger? I was on the knife's edge of emotions, desperate but needing answers. "Ryan's life has always been dangerous," the man said, his eyes hard. "We control it until now. It's your choice whether you stay fixated on this world, but know that it could cost you." A shudder of fear coursed through me again, realization settling heavily in my gut. I had been caught up in this whirlwind of emotion while remaining blissfully ignorant of the very real monsters hiding beneath the surface. "Why are you doing this?" I asked Ryan, my voice cracking. "Do you really want me to walk away? Don't you see?" Ryan's gaze bore into mine, desperation swelling within him. "I'm afraid to let go of you, but am terrified of what letting you in really means." As the silence hung thick in the air, the man cleared his throat, a note of finality in his posture. "If you choose to stay, understand that the stakes have risen only higher. You will need to be prepared for the truth when it reveals itself." "And it will, then bring it on," I said, unyielding despite the tremor in my voice, a newfound fierceness rising within. I couldn't allow myself to back down now, not when Ryan needed me, but in that moment, as the man regarded me with both caution and intrigue, I sensed a shift in the dynamic, a darkness coiling around the edges of the room. Uncertainty seeped into the corners of my resolve. Just as I thought I had steadied myself, the sound of the door creaking open interrupted our tense standoff. A woman entered, her face impassive yet possessing an air of icy authority, eyes sweeping the room with predatory grace. In one hand, she clutched a file that reeked of secrets, and the moment our gazes met, a shiver ran down my spine. She seemed to know things far beyond comprehension. "Ryan," she said, her tone measured, "we need to discuss the incident. It's time for you to face what's coming." With that, the room plunged into another level of turmoil, the bottom dropping out of my stomach as dread flooded through me. Secrets once locked away were on the verge of being unleashed, and standing at the precipice of Ryan's world, I braced myself for whatever storm was to follow. My heart felt like it might burst from my chest as the woman stepped closer, her presence commanding and foreign. I could almost hear the whispers of the file she held, the way it thudded heavily against her thigh as if it contained the very weight of Ryan's existence. Anxiety wrapped around my throat, tightening with every passing heartbeat, each pulse echoing my senses. What had Ryan done? Incident? I asked, my voice trembling as I glanced at Ryan, seeking solace in his eyes. But all I found was an unsettling swirl of regret and fear mirrored back at me. He shifted on the hospital bed, the sheets rustling, and I reached out a hand to steady him. "Joanna, please," he began, but the woman cut him off with a sharp glance. "Don't protect her, Ryan. She deserves to know." Her words dripped with a cold authority, a stark contrast to the warmth I had always associated with Ryan. It was jarring, unsettling. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice rising, desperate to reclaim some semblance of power in this spiraling situation. "What happened?" She hesitated, then lowered her gaze to the file in her hand. "You would call me Clara." Her tone shifted slightly, revealing a flicker of something more human, a fleeting expression of compassion. "But that's not what matters right now." Before I could respond, Ryan spoke, his voice steadier than I expected. "Clara works with me. She's part of a team responsible for risk management." "Risk management?" I echoed incredulously. "What does that even mean?" "You're both speaking in riddles, and I refuse to stand by while you hoard secrets." "Fine," Ryan conceded, a mix of frustration and resignation flooding his features. I was in a position that required discretion. "I didn't want you to." "What?" I interrupted, my blood boiling. "To protect me? Or to shield yourself?" Clara watched us intently, her expression inscrutable, as if she were gauging our every interaction. "This is precisely why your connection complicates matters, Ryan. You've become a liability while trying to shield her." "Excuse me?" I shot back, sensing the accusation. "I'm not a liability. I'm here for him. Willing, despite my own fear." "Fear is an honest emotion," Clara replied coolly, shifting her gaze back to Ryan. "But we're out of time. We need to move on this." The words hung like a cloud of dread between us, heavy and suffocating. "Move on?" I repeated, my heart racing. "Move on to what?" "I'm not going anywhere until I understand, Joanna." Ryan's voice softened, and I could see the struggle clear on his face. An internal battle I wished I could help him win. If I could explain everything, I would. But there are parts of my life that could put you in danger. Unknowns that could. I can't let that happen. A crack appeared in my resolve as the weight of his words sank in. Danger? What lies ahead that could jeopardize not only his life but mine? The walls of the hospital room felt like they were closing in, my surroundings losing their familiarity. Clara stepped forward, placing the file on the bed, her movements deliberate. "There's something you need to see. Something you both need to see." The urgency in her voice momentarily stilled my heart, but I couldn't shake the feeling of impending dread. Ryan cast a glance at the file, his expression tense. "What is it?" "There's been chatter." Clara's eyes darkened, the words moving heavy in the air. "Rumors circulating. It involves your history, Ryan, what you've done, who you've hurt. Your past is catching up with you." The atmosphere shifted palpably, an invisible storm brewing just outside the doors. I could see Ryan's resolve begin to falter, the familiar confidence he once exuded now replaced by an all-too-fresh vulnerability. "Fucked up rumors?" I chuckled in disbelief, unwilling to show how close to panic I was. What could possibly be worse than what we're already facing? An anonymous tip was sent to the media, Clara explained, her clinical tone horrific in the context of our immediate reality. If it hits, not only could Ryan lose everything, but you too could be pulled into the chaos that I felt like the floor had dropped out from beneath me. My mind reeled as the implication sunk in. I'm not a part of this, I'm here for him. I don't want that, but the further we navigated, the deeper I found myself entangled. Ryan looked broken, and that was enough reason to fight. What do we do? I demanded, fierce and unwavering, though inside I felt the tremor of fear threatening to overtake me. In the next 48 hours, we need to contain the fallout. If we don't, Clara's voice caught momentarily, a crack in her composed facade that sent a jolt through me, urging me to listen intently. Lives will be ruined. Ryan could lose everything he's worked for, anything you've built could come crashing down. What if we don't care about any of it? I blurted, sweeping my gaze over Clara and Ryan. What if we just want to be together, be together? Ryan's voice faltered on the last word, his own inner storm raging on his face. Joanna, you don't understand how serious this is. Before he could finish, the sudden, loud crash of the door echoed through the room, drawing our attention. A figure stood in the doorway, their expression dark and menacing, eyes filled with a cloaked threat that sent shockwaves of fear rippling through my body. I believe we have unfinished business, the intruder said, voice raspy as if tainted by smoke. My blood froze, instinctively pulling Ryan closer to me, knowing that whatever lay ahead could shatter our fragile hope to pieces. Whatever storm was brewing next, it was upon us. The figure loomed in the doorway, a silhouette carved in shadows, and I felt as though the very air had thickened to suffocate us. The heartbeat echoed in my ears, drowning out the chaos of my thoughts. My gaze flitted nervously between Ryan and Clara, anxiety gripped my throat, leaving me breathless. What do you want? Ryan's voice broke through the tension, tinged with a note of defiance that I desperately wished I could mirror. The intruder took a step forward, revealing a face etched with lines that told stories of deceit and power. Ryan, isn't it? I've been looking for you. You know how messy things get when people start talking. Who are you? I demanded, stepping slightly in front of Ryan, instinctively wanting to shield him despite the tremors of fear coursing through me. He smirked, his cool confidence unnerving. Just a friend of your boyfriend's. Friends have a funny way of reminding each other about deals, don't they? A flicker of recognition sparked in Ryan's eyes, the kind of spark that ignites a long-buried fear. I suggest you back off. If this is about the rumors, we can handle it. Oh, I don't doubt you think so, the man taunted, his gaze flicking dismissively over me. But it isn't just about some petty whispers in the wind. It's about the price of silence, Ryan. Or rather, the cost of your past catching up to you. I swallowed hard, trying to mask the tidal wave of anxiety bubbling up inside me. The shadowy figure continued, you can either play nice or let everything you love burn. What's it going to be? Ryan clenched his jaw, determination radiating from him, yet his body trembled as he absorbed the threat. You don't get to choose for me, or anyone I care about. The man leaned against the door frame, indifference etched in his demeanor. But I do. And don't think for a moment that this isn't personal. After all, people get hurt when they provoke the wrong kind of company. His gaze sharpened as it slid past Ryan, finally resting on me. And the girl? She's drawn into this now, whether she likes it or not. A chill crept down my spine as I felt the weight of his words wrapping around me, suffocating and heavy. What do you mean? I whispered, horror igniting the gaps in my understanding. Oh, how naive you are, he said with a mocking smile. A reminder that only the toughest survive in a world where trust is currency. All it takes is one slip, one moment of weakness, and you'll see just how far one little secret can reach. Leave her out of this. Ryan shouted, breaking his stoic facade, the raw emotion spilling over like a dam about to burst. I won't let you drag her into this mess, the man chuckled darkly. It's too late for that, my friend. The stakes are high now, and the clock is ticking. Better hurry to contain those little fires of yours before they turn into a wildfire. With a final, menacing glance, he stepped back through the door, leaving it ajar behind him. For a moment, everything seemed suspended in the aftermath of his threat. I felt rooted in place, uncertainty snake charming my thoughts. Ryan, I breathed, my eyes searching his for answers. What are we going to do, Joanna? He faltered, his face a canvas of turmoil. This is worse than I thought. I thought I could handle it. Then let's handle it together, I urged, desperately grasping his hands, trying to ground us both. I'm not backing down. Whatever it takes, I'm in this with you. Clara's gaze intensified, her lips pursing slightly as if weighing the gravity of our situation. You have to know that you might lose everything if you go down this path. The implication hung heavily between us, but my resolve hardened. I've already lost too much. I won't lose Ryan too. Suddenly, the tension in the room shifted, and with it came an unexpected surge of brightness outside, a flock of birds swirling against the darkening sky. It felt absurd to cling to that small moment of beauty, but it seemed to whisper a hint of hope amidst the storm. Perhaps we could push back against the chaos. 48 hours, Clara spoke again, her voice steadier, firm. You have to act fast. I can help you, but you need to trust me. Trust is a tricky thing, Ryan replied, letting go of my hands to run them through his hair, his posture tense with uncertainty. What if I can't protect her? What if my past stop? I interrupted, and I could feel the weight of the next moment. Well, face it together. No more hiding. No more running. He looked at me, and in that brief connection, I saw a flicker of hope, an ember refusing to die. But before either of us could breathe, a phone rang, shrill and cutting through the silence. Clara reached into her pocket, her face paling as she answered. Do I even want to know? Ryan murmured, the urgency in Clara's eyes answered that question before she spoke. We're out of time. We just received intel. The beat of my heart quickened, a desperate drumroll against fading hope. Clara's expression darkened, each word slicing through the optimism I had grasped onto. We might have a leak. Someone is onto you, Ryan. And their next move will be targeting Joanna. My breath caught, the rush of realization hitting me like ice water. A million fears cascaded, swirling dangerously within. The shimmer of hope I had held onto flickered uncertainly, rapidly losing its radiance. Joanna, Ryan whispered, reaching for me, but uncertainty loomed heavier than before. Stay close to me, I managed to say, my voice gritty and raw, even as despair clutched at my heart. Because as much as I wanted to fight, dread threatened to unravel everything as the darkness edged closer around us. The weight of Clara's words hung in the air, dense and suffocating, turning the once comforting walls of the room into a cage. I watched Ryan's face collapse under the strain of her revelation, the flicker of hope extinguishing in an instant, replaced by an all-consuming fear and guilt. It was as if shadows had multiplied, pushing in from all sides, squeezing us until we struggled to breathe. Joanna, he leaned in, urgent and desperate. I can't let anything happen to you. You have to get out of here. Are you kidding me? My heart raced, nearly choking on disbelief. Running is not an option. We face this together, no matter what. I'm not leaving your side. He opened his mouth as if to protest, but I saw him struggle with it, the defiance fighting against the instinct to protect. I can't lose you, he finally whispered, the tremor in his voice betraying his armor. Not like this, Clara, a determined fire in her eyes, interjected with a single resolute command. No more time for sentiment. We need a plan, and we need it now. I sensed her urgency was fueled by either wisdom or experience, though I had no way of knowing which. I can reach out to a few contacts, she suggested, her mind clearly churning. But we have to act quickly. The moment they sniff weakness, it's over. Ryan nodded slowly, yet his troubled gaze kept darting to me. I was not oblivious to the fear that flickered across his features, a fear of what would happen if he failed. The weight of it wrapped tightly around my heart, squeezing painfully. Trust her, Ryan. If we're going to do this, we need every possible ally, I urged, my voice steady despite the storm inside. His gaze softened, albeit briefly. I know, he admitted, but the uncertainty remained, the indecision skimming the surface of his skin. That's enough. Clara's sharp voice cut through our tangled emotions. If we keep this up, we're giving them more time to make a move. Joanna, I want you to stay alert. Don't trust anyone outside of this room until we know what we're dealing with. Understood, I replied, though a shiver skated down my spine at the implications of her warning. In the rush of the moment, an unexpected sound pierced my veil of anxiety, a soft knock at the window. I turned sharply, all eyes shifting in that direction, anticipation buzzing in the air. Just outside, a figure appeared, partly obscured by the darkness gathering around us. I squinted, recognizing David, his face pale and frantic. He stepped closer, his breath visible in the chilly night air. David! I exclaimed, a flicker of relief flashing like lightning in the midst of impending doom. I rushed to the window, startled at the muddy expression of worry painted across his usually jovial features. They're coming, he gasped, his voice strained. A black SUV pulled up outside. I don't know how. There's no time. You have to trust me. We need to move now. What do you mean? Ryan barked, urgency lacing his tone as he pushed past me. Clara's foreboding presence hovered behind him like an unyielding guardian. How did you know? I have my sources, David retorted, glancing nervously over his shoulder. I overheard them. They know about you, Ryan. About both of you. You need to get out of here. You can't afford to hesitate. No, Clara interjected, a fierce resolve cutting through the panic. We can't make a decision without knowing what we're up against. Living in fear isn't living at all, David shot back, frustration sharpening his words. You think they'll be polite? They'll storm in, and everything could spiral out of control. There's an exit behind the garage. If we move fast, they won't see us. A silence fell upon us, pregnant with the gravity of the moment. Ryan and I exchanged a look, 1,000 thoughts racing through the quiet connection of our shared experience. I felt the air around us growing colder, the stakes rising higher, pressing down with such intensity one felt as if I might shatter. With a heavy gulp, I took a step back from the window, suddenly hyper-aware that danger lurked closely behind us. Fine. Let's do it, I whispered, willing my heart to steady. Together, right, Ryan? Replied, his determination reigniting. We stick to the plan. No one gets left behind. I glanced back as we gathered our belongings, Clara's resolute presence anchoring me in wavering confidence. As we made our way through the door, David leading us with an urgency that had my heart racing, I couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. Just as we turned the corner toward the garage, my phone buzzed in my pocket, echoing into the stillness like a thunderous warning. Reluctantly, I pulled it out, heart pounding in dread, and my stomach plunged as I saw the name flashing across the screen. Mom, Joanna, Ryan murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. You should ignore it, but the nagging pull was insistent. I pressed the button to answer, hearing the crackle of connection before her voice broke through, frantic and strained. Honey, where are you? I'm so worried. They're asking about you, and Ryan. You need to come home. And in that moment, the universe shifted. My heart sank, the shadows that were closing in on us felt more oppressive than ever. Because the depth of her trembling voice combined with the chilling reminder of the stakes, forged an overwhelming sense of dread. Had the danger found us before we'd even had a chance to react? What now? I couldn't shake the thought as I turned to Ryan, fear clawing at my insides. Time was running thin, and the walls were closing in like a predator circling its prey. They know, Ryan, I whispered, and the weight of reality crashed down upon us amid the encroaching darkness. The tension in the air was palpable, each second stretching into eternity as my mother's panicked voice reverberated in my ears. They're asking about you, she repeated, the catch in her throat a haunting reminder of how close the danger lurked. I could feel Ryan's heartbeat echoing in the silence, his eyes wide and searching mine, mirroring the fear that wrapped itself around me like a suffocating shroud. You need to come home, my mother implored, a desperate urgency threading through her words. Please, Joanna. I can't lose you too. Mom, listen to me. I pleaded, glancing at Clara and David, whose expressions mirrored my own dread. I can't come home right now. it's not safe. You have to trust me. Where a loud crash interrupted me, the sound ricocheting off the walls like a sonic boom, drowning out my mother's frantic voice. My heart plummeted. What was that? I gasped, instinct screaming for us to move. Go. David shouted, his voice a clarion call slicing through our panic. He motioned toward the back exit, urgency in his eyes, and without another thought, I slipped my phone back into my pocket. Stay behind me, Ryan murmured, brushing against my side as we rushed forward, his presence a tether anchoring me against the chaos. I could feel the heat radiating off him, a small flicker of reassurance amid the storm threatening to engulf us. That we burst through the door that led us to the dimly lit garage, the sound of our hurried footsteps drowned by the growing clamor outside. David led the way, his instincts razor-sharp, and Clara followed closely, her stoic demeanor unwavering but a flash of concern crossing her features. Out in the open, the cool night air hit me like a wave, my breath hitching in my chest as I glimpsed the black SUV idling just beyond the driveway. Its menacing shape loomed in the shadows, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being hunted this way. David grabbed my arm, steering me towards a narrow path behind the garage. Displacement surged through me, each choice fell like dominoes around us, and I could sense the weight of what we were leaving behind. Just as we rounded the corner, a flash of headlights blinded us. I staggered back, instinctively gripping Ryan's hand tighter, our connection grounding me while we stood in the eye of the storm. They're here, Clara murmured, her voice low and steady, but I could see the tension crackling like static electricity. Keep going. Don't look back, Ryan urged, but my heart was already twisting in two directions, the fear of confrontation, and the desperate urge to turn around and grab my mother's hand. As we made our way down the path, the shadows growing taller and more ominous, I recalled my mother's trembling words. Memories flickered like troubled shadows in my mind, the way she used to smile, bright and warm, before life's burdens wrapped themselves around her. I can't lose you too, Joanna. Clara's urgent voice pulled me from my reverie. I felt a gentle grip on my shoulder as I stumbled. Focus. We need you in the moment. Keep moving. That I nodded, shaking off the chilling tendrils of doubt wrapping around my heart. Together, we slipped between the alleyways, adrenaline pushing me forward, but something gnawed at me, a disquiet that wouldn't let go. My mother's worry. The SUV's ominous presence. They were too close. Suddenly, the night air shifted, a prickling sensation traveling down my spine as if we were no longer alone. Just then, I caught a glimpse of a figure moving in the shadows, a silhouette outlined by the barely there glow of streetlights, and I froze. Did you see that? I whispered, my heart pounding in my chest. Don't stop. Ryan's voice surged with authority, and I leaned into him as we pressed on, yet the feeling of being watched clung to me. We rounded another corner and skidded to a halt, breathless as we found ourselves in front of an old, rusty fence dividing property lines. The gate was slightly ajar, a forgotten path meandering into the darkness beyond. David gestured wide, a flicker of hope dancing across his face. We can go this way. As we crossed into the unfamiliar land, I could hear the telltale sound of the SUV's engine revving in the distance, growing closer. I felt the weight of our situation settle heavily on my shoulders as I glanced back one last time. It was then that I saw him, a man in a dark jacket, stepping out of the SUV. He looked around, scanning the shadows and the vehicles, cold determination strict upon his face. Ryan, they're here. My voice trembled as dread pooled in my gut. There was something familiar about the way he carried himself. A sneaking suspicion clawed at me as I squinted, tracing the contours of his features. Joanna, focus. Ryan urged, grabbing my arm tightly and pulling me toward the path, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I knew him. As our group fled down the shadowy path, each footfall heavier than the last, the chill of uncertainty crept in deeper, and then, in that moment of disarray, a shrill beep pierced the night. I fumbled for my phone, heart racing, and as I glanced down at the screen, the name flashed before my eyes. Daniel. My mind whirled as I considered the implications. Why was he calling now? Would his presence offer salvation or deepen our nightmares? Joanna, we need to go, Ryan urged, his voice low and devastatingly urgent, but the chasm of uncertainty yawned wide before me, echoing with unanswered questions. Wait, I breathed, caught in the grips of fate as Daniel's face stirred in my memory. A million emotions collided inside me, the pull of unresolved ties battling against the urgency to survive. In that breathless moment, the shadows felt far too close, and my heart raced, caught between the promise of help and the remnants of the past. What lay ahead was unknown, but one thing burned clear through the fog of fear. Regardless of my choice, we were already in deeper than we could have ever imagined. The air felt thick with an insistent urgency as I clutched my phone tighter, Daniel's name illuminating the screen like an unwelcomed ghost. Beside me, Ryan's grip tightened, his eyes scanning our surroundings, and I could sense his worry gnawing at him. This wasn't just about our escape anymore. Now there was a flicker of hope that I might unearth something or someone that could genuinely help us. Joanna, Clara whispered urgently, we need to keep moving. Her eyes darted over the fence line, a silent plea echoing in her posture. Yet, my heart felt suspended in the chaotic undertow of my memories. I was torn between the dire need to escape the shadows chasing us and the desire to understand the resonance Daniel's name provoked. Just 1 second, I murmured, almost to myself, as I struggled to breathe past the mounting fear that threatened to choke me. With shaking fingers, I pressed call, feeling like a moth flinging itself toward the flame, uncertain of the warmth and light or the burn and chaos that awaited. The phone rang, each tone reverberating in my chest, deepening my torment. Pick up, I urged silently as I glanced back toward the dark figure, still searching. The low rumble of the engine grew closer, a steady reminder that our time was running out. To my relief, Daniel's familiar voice finally answered, even as I felt the world around me keep spiraling into darkness. Joanna? His tone was sharper than I recalled, wrapped in tension. Where are you? Is everything all right? Not really, I confessed, my voice fleeting in the din of our situation. We were being followed. I think they know about me. The words fell from my lips like stones, heavy and burdened with the truth I tried to escape. What? The alarm in his tone sent a ripple of clarity through my confusion. You need to get to safety. Where are you? I don't know. Some alley near the old grocery store. But I hesitated, wrestling with the weight of memories and an old ache that surfaced. I saw someone. The man from the SUV. I think I know him, Daniel. Joanna, please. Daniel's voice was suddenly urgent, pulling me back from the edge. You're not safe. Get out of there now. I'll come find you. Just stay hidden. A flicker of warmth spread through me at the thought of his care in the middle of this chaos, but uncertainty still cast a shadow over that spark. What if I can't? What if Joanna? He interjected firmly, his voice a lifeline. You can't think of what might happen. Think of what's at stake right now. You need to run. Just think of the last place you felt safe. Do you remember that? I closed my eyes, letting memories wash over Murum's summer afternoons with ice cream dribbling down my fingers, the delightful laughter of friends, a sanctuary I'd long since abandoned. But it felt like a lifetime ago, just out of reach. I think I remember. A realization surged through me like electricity. The park near my old house. Go. I'll be there as fast as I can. Just don't stop, he urged, a newfound determination igniting a flutter in my chest from an unexpected ally in this storm. Okay, I whispered, swallowing my fears as I glanced around. I'll meet you there. I ended the call, breathless and spinning in confusion. Yet as Clara darted her gaze nervously around the dim alley, a hesitant thread of hope intertwined within me. What did he say? She asked, her worry cloaked in curiosity. He's coming, I replied more confidently than I felt. To the park. Let's go then, David said, tension still heavy in the air. We can't waste any time. So we moved, my heart racing as we traversed the cluttered streets, shadows dancing behind us like memories pulled reluctantly into the present. My mind danced with images of Daniel, of possibilities I had never dared entertain before, and every surreal second pulled me deeper into my unease. As we entered the park, its familiarity wrapped me in an unexpected embrace, offering refuge amid the impending chaos. I spotted the weather-beaten swings, stark against the pale moonlight, and felt the specter of childhood innocence wash over me, and then I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps behind us, echoing through the stillness of the night. My heart thudded violently in my chest as I turned to Ryan, fear flashing in his eyes. "Keep going," he hissed, pushing us further into the darkness. "Joanna," Clara whispered, glancing back, panic blooming on her face. "We can't let them catch us. We have to run into the trees," but my instinct screamed against it. "Wait," I pleaded, scanning the night, my breath snagging in my throat as I saw the shadow of the man from the SUV cutting through the park, his intentions unmistakably menacing. Before I could react, he spotted us, and a smile twisted his lips, a predatory gleam in his eyes. My stomach dropped, a chilled realization creeping in. He was closer than I had thought. With desperate urgency, we bolted toward the trees, hearts pounding as the sound of the man's footsteps drummed in pursuit. A visceral fight-or-flight instinct ignited inside me, but just as I started to slip into the solace of the dense canopy, a sudden cry echoed through the park, cutting through my thoughts like a knife. It was a voice I recognized, calling my name. A burst of warmth and familiarity that froze me in place. "Joanna." The call rang out, drawing closer. "Where are you?" It was my mother, her panicked voice echoing in the night. In that moment, hope collided with fear, and I stood suspended between two worlds: the love I longed for and the danger that lurked so dangerously close. My choice would come at a cost, and I felt the ground shift beneath me. Would I heed my mother's call for safety, or step further into the shadows where Daniel promised to find me? My heart raced as the weight of uncertainty draped over me, paralyzing me as the truth crystallized. There was no escaping the oncoming storm. The ghosts of our pasts lingered like shadows in the night as my heart raced, caught in the whirlwind of choices. The call of my mother echoed in the darkness, a voice filled with love and a desperate need for me to return to safety, while the figure in the shadows lurked closer, the embodiment of the complications and chaos that had become my life since meeting Ryan. "Joanna." My mother's voice cried out again, lifting the veil of destruction that threatened to swallow me whole. "Please, come home." I stood frozen, straddled between two profound fears: the safety my mother represented and the tumultuous path alongside Ryan that had ignited fire in my soul. "Go to her," Ryan urged, sensing the turmoil swirling around me. "Shall protect you." The manha, his voice faltered, pain slipping through the cracks of his resolve. "You don't know what you might be stepping into, but if I go now," I felt tearing at the seams of my heart. "What if that's not enough?" Recollections of laughter and warmth filled my thoughts. Me mother's embrace, a sanctuary from the storms outside. Yet the spark between Ryan and me anchored me, and the thought of losing him, of never knowing what we could become together, punctured my heart anew. "Listen to your heart," Clara pressed, her voice keeping my focus. "Instincts say a lot about who we truly are. Your life is at stake, Joanna. Trust them, whether they guide you back." She hesitated, urgency imbuing her words, or deeper into the chaos. The man watching us in the park shifted, drawing closer, and my pulse quickened at the growing tension. I needed to decide, and yet, every heartbeat pulled me deeper into uncertainty. "Joanna." My mother called again, despair threading through her tone. "I can't lose you like I lost your father." I squeezed my eyes shut, forcing back the swell of emotions threatening to consume me. "Mom!" I shouted, a mixture of memories crashing like waves, drowning me in nostalgia. The truth was, I couldn't abandon the fragments of my past, nor could I turn my back on the undeniable present. "Ryan," I whispered, hurt swirling in my chest. "Is it possible to face this together?" My question hung in the air between us, reverberating with vulnerability. The shimmering hope that anchored me was in his reply. "Together," he affirmed, his grip tightening around my hand. "We face whatever comes next together." Before I could digest the poetic weight of our words, the man's footsteps grew louder, crashing dangerously into our reality. "Time's up." A threatening growl shattered through the tranquility of the night. Panic flooded my senses as the gravity of our situation shifted. "Joseph." Ryan's voice turned harsh, filled with bitterness. "You've crossed a line you can't come back from." The tension seethed, spinning a web of danger around us as I felt fighting courage rise from the depths of my heart. I glanced back toward the fleeting hope that my mother represented, her silhouette painted against the starkness, filled with desperation. A haunting reminder of my past flickered through my mind, the invitation to safety, compassion, comfort. But what price would I pay for the love I had longed for? The choice laid bare before me, as raw as the night air, the instinct to protect those I loved, or the fear of forever losing my chance at real love with Ryan. And just as I summoned the courage to move, the shadows shifted. The man who had drawn closer now stepped into the moonlight, and my heart plummeted. It was Daniel, but he was not the same. The darkness of his eyes mirrored the chaos surrounding us. "Joanna," he said, deceptively soft. "I've come to protect you. There's a way to get out." The duality of his soothing tone sent a ripple of confusion and doubt through my heart. "You can trust me. Come with me, it'll keep you safe." Ryan's body stiffened beside me, tension radiating from his frame, but how could I ignore the urgency in Daniel's voice? Every instinct screamed for action as the chaos of emotions churned inside me. "Don't listen to him," Ryan urged, desperation stretching his voice taut. "He's manipulating you, Joanna." The conflict torn between the two men bared my soul with an unrelenting grip. "I can save you from this life, from the darkness chasing you down. You don't even know what you're asking," Ryan interjected fiercely. "He doesn't protect what matters, he runs from it, leaving everyone scarred. Just look at who he is." A wave of anger surged against Ryan's words, yet a flicker of confusion still gnawed at my heart. My instincts fought to break free, pressing against me like the shadows that haunted my every thought. "That I am in control," I demanded, my voice shaking, yet resolute. "It doesn't matter what you both claim to do. This is my choice." I turned to each of them with defiance burning within, feeling the vibration of the mantra ignite inside me. "I will not set aside the life I've been building without understanding it fully. Joanna, please." Daniel stepped closer, his voice smooth and persuasive. "Let me show you a different world, one where you don't have to fear. Come with me now." But as I glanced at Ryan, the love radiating from his gaze chased away the shadows, anchoring me in certainty. "I want to stand with you, Ryan. I want to fight. I want to know the truth behind the chaos, all of it," and in the depths of his eyes, a flicker of comprehension sparked something unyieldingly genuine. "Then my truth shall be your truth. Let's face this together." The man in front of Daniel moved closer now, his presence ominous, a predator closing in on its prey. And instinct kicked in, adrenaline coursed through my veins. "Run!" I shouted, the command bursting forth as I pulled Ryan alongside, and we tore away from the shadows and toward what could be our salvation or our doom. But as we churned through the dark, amidst the sound of chaos and urgency, I felt something shift within me, a catharsis sparked by the choice I made. Not towards a shadowed past or haunting memories, but towards the storm yet to come, and for the first time, a deep acceptance wrapped around my heart in its entirety. And then, in that very moment, the ghosts of our past found peace, and as we raced against the tides, I knew no matter what lay ahead, I would never run away from darkness again, because it was in the embrace of life's unpredictable journey, in the chaos of love and loss, that I understood, ultimately, we create our own destinies. And I was ready to embrace every wave that came crashing against the shores of my heart, for as long as I had Ryan by my side, I could face everything, and together we would weather the storm. "Let's finish this," I murmured, my heart racing with the exhilaration of what was to come. And with one last glance over my shoulder at the fragmented shadows behind us, I took his hand, our hearts dancing in sync as the world rushed in a wild crescendo of possibilities, wild and newfound. Because in the chaos of our truths, we had finally learned how to fight for our own light.